Now let's get an economics perspective with Angela McEwen, who's senior economist with the Canadian Labour Congress and a policy fellow with the Broadbent Institute, and Sean Speer, senior fellow at the University of Toronto School of Public Policy and Governance and once a senior economic advisor to former Prime Minister Stephen Harper. You're not journalists, but I'm going to get you to write the headlines anyway. What's the headline on this budget?
Well, I think the headline is that it's a conversion on the road to Damascus. It's could have been a home run, but they swung and they missed, I think.
Could have been a conversion on the road to Damascus?
Could have been a home run. It was a conversion.
Oh, it was a conversion. So we're mixing a little religion with baseball there.
Okay.
All right, Sean?
I would say fiscal 180. You had Mr. Sousa here in November upon tabling of the fall economic statement, and he talked about the importance of balanced budgets. He talked about the hard work that his government had undertaken to get the province back to zero. And in the months that have since followed, he's had a 180, and of course we're seeing a return to deficit spending for the foreseeable future.
Let me follow up on that with you, because in fact for a whole year the government did say, we've got to balance, we're going to stay in balance, this isn't a one-trick pony, we're going to stay here for the next 3 years. And then yes, only whatever it was, a week or two ago, they said actually we're going to go back into deficit. Why do you think they did that?
Well, of course, politics are at the backdrop, and your viewers will, of course, know that. But I think it's a pretty remarkable change. I think, to Mr. Sousa's credit, to the credit of this government, they had taken steps over the past several years to control spending. We saw spending grow at about 2.5% since 2010. We saw real per capita spending actually fall. And so the commitment to balanced budget seemed sincere. And as you say, it's something that he's been talking about across this province. And so what's remarkable in the past week or so, and then of course affirmed today, is we're seeing spending grow by 12% over the next couple of years. Just to put that in perspective, Steve, at the height of the recession, in the 2 years around the 2008-2009 recession, spending grew by 17%. So we're seeing a 12% increase in spending in this context when the economy is growing. It's pretty remarkable, and I think that is why I say is the headline tonight.
Why do you think they're letting her rip, as it were, as it comes to spending?
Well, I think they're trying to, right? As Sean said, they've spent the last, well, Minister Sousa's been the finance minister for the past 5 or 6 years, and he's been trying to control spending. So they've been keeping hospital spending growing at less than inflation. Post-secondary education, we spend the least per capita in the country on this. And so they've been on this side where they're causing these crises in mental health, in hospitals, by this prudent approach that they're calling it, right, to get back to balance. And then all of a sudden, when they've got back to balance, they realize maybe the public doesn't care about deficits, and maybe what's really important is social services, is spending on public services. But if you wanted real public services, you wouldn't have these targeted programs like $50 for dental care, right? These little incremental changes. So we're helping 100,000 kids in daycare, but there's way more kids for whom it's a big problem, or parents who can't find spaces for infant care.
But from where you're coming at it, from your particular perspective, a $6.7 billion deficit on a $145 billion program spending budget, does that offend your economic sensibilities?
It does not offend my economic sensibilities, but they don't have a plan on the revenue side. This is a structural deficit, really, where they're increasing public spending and they're not. What's going to change? Are we going to continue?
No plan on the revenue side means they should have raised taxes and didn't.
Well, they should have raised taxes and didn't. They should have raised taxes a couple of years ago in order to properly fund public services.
And I just say, not only is it a marked departure from recent fiscal behavior, it's also a marked departure from most mainstream fiscal policy thinking. We've seen a strong economy, as the budget boasts about, and the idea that in that context we'd plunge ourselves back in a deficit at a time when we're probably at the top of the business cycle. Just strikes me, as I say, is outside most mainstream fiscal policy thinking, and why it's hard not to ignore the elephant in the room, which is the election timeline.
Well, okay, let's go there then. I know you two are economists, but you're also political scientists of a sort as well. Is this simply a Hail Mary pass in order to throw goodies at people 71 days before an election campaign?
Of course, I think there's something to that. But what I would say is it now puts pressure on all parties. We have the fiscal baseline. This will be the fiscal baseline that all parties will have to use as they develop their own plans. You asked Mr. Fedeli about how the Progressive Conservatives will respond. And so I think the onus now is on all parties to respond to this agenda, to put forward their own policies and their own vision for the province of Ontario.
Is this a Hail Mary pass in your view? Since you started with the religious analogies here, what am I? I'll keep to it.
I do feel like it's a Hail Mary pass. I feel like it's a bit cobbled together. They've got little bits and pieces. They've got, in the budget, there's some vagueness around, like there's not a full explanation of the dental care plan. There's not really a clear plan on skills training, skills for the future, which they've said is really important. So it does feel like they've taken, they've called up all of their friends and said, what do you want in the budget? And they've thrown everything into the pot that they could find. But I still feel like its imagination is less than what it should be. We shouldn't be just thinking about how much we can spend, but what are we investing in? How are we spending it? Are we building public services for the future? Are we reducing inequality? Ontario has, increasing inequality compared to other provinces, and I would argue it's because of its lower per capita social spending on education, healthcare, and public services that reduce poverty.
Well, Sean, as the title of the budget suggests, that word care is in there. And this government clearly believes that the people of Ontario need more care of all kind, whether it's for their whole bodies or their minds or their teeth or whatever. You want to quibble with that?
No, you asked the previous panelists about hallway medicine, which of course is something we're hearing increasingly about in this province, and there's not only a need to think about how our hospitals function, but also more broadly about the system holistically. We talked in the green room, for instance, about continuing deficits with regards to long-term care in the province. So it's not to say that many of the priorities or the areas articulated in the budget are important, and I think important to many Ontarians. But to make such a substantial increase in spending, as I say, 12% over the next couple of years, in an environment in which the economy is growing, just strikes me as an unwillingness to make serious fiscal choices.
I asked Angela a second ago whether the deficit offended her economic sensibilities, and I want to ask you a similar question, in as much as, does $32 billion of added debt being taken on over the next 7 years offend your economic sensibilities?
Yeah, the short answer is yes. The longer answer, though, is there'll be a lot of people who will say, well, the deficit as a share of GDP is less than 1%. I think there's something to that. But it also shows, I think, the risk of putting off decisions. Angela talked about the fact that we're now, I think, seeing a structural deficit. And much can happen between now and 2024. Where the new timeline has been set. And one can't help but think that it's easy to kick it down the road today. And the risk, of course, is we see the provincial debt continue to grow.
Again, as an economist, do you have any problem with a minister of finance or a government that says, we are promising this and it will start next August. We are promising this and it will start in 2019. We are promising this and it will start with kids who actually haven't even been born yet in the year 2020. Is that problematic?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I don't know how voters can take that promise seriously when it doesn't even start until 2 years down the road. As you say, most of the kids that are going to be getting this childcare, they haven't even been born yet, or they're just brand new infants.
His
right?
boss used to do it all the time. Well, you knew I was going to say that.
It's an effective
Prime Minister Harper used to do it all the time.
What's interesting is not only does the budget, as you said earlier, not only does the budget set out the government's priorities, the Liberal Party's de facto election platform, it also boxes in the other two parties as they think about their own election platforms, their own policy agendas. For the New Democrats, it boxes them in the extent to which these are many of the issues that one can envision the New Democrats speaking to in their platform. For the Conservatives, it places a box around them on the question of fiscal policy. As you know, the party already has some fiscal gaps with respect to the People's Guarantee. And that problem is deeper now if they're going to project a balanced budget in the next mandate.
Well, let's follow up on that. If you're a Conservative, if you're Doug Ford, you are going to be asked 1,000 times over the next 71 days, okay, Mr. Ford, what are you going to cut? You're going to cut the child care spaces? Or you're going to cut the mental health investments? Or you're going to cut the Dentacare program that the Liberals are going to bring in? Are you going to cut the childcare spaces? Or how, if you're advising him, how does he answer that question?
Well, it seems to me a couple of things. First of all, as you know, the Auditor General and others have raised legitimate questions, I think, about the basic arithmetic underpinning the provincial government's finances. Mm-hmm. So I think he's right to say there are legitimate questions about the precise nature of Ontario's budget. But more fundamentally, I think there's a chance for him to start to set out a way to reform the government. The Drummond report, of course, was a couple of years now, more than that.
More than that, yeah.
And I think there remain several ideas there.
We should just remind everybody, this is Don Drummond, Queen's University, put together. I think McGuinty was still the premier when that came in. And the idea was, help me find savings in government. And he did. And the government kind of put it on the shelf.
Exactly.
Didn't really avail themselves of many of the biggest ideas in there.
Exactly. But I think if you properly fund public services, you find savings down the road. If you fund childcare, women go back to work, they earn more money, they pay more taxes. If you properly fund and reduce poverty and inequality, it's been shown that that reduces the burden on our healthcare system. If we have affordable housing and people aren't living in the streets and you have access to mental health services, then you're costing the system less money. As Sean and I were saying, we're talking about this long-term healthcare crisis. You have hallway medicine. You have people who are permanently in hallways at hospitals waiting for long-term care beds. And that acute care space at a hospital costs way more money than it would to house them properly at a long-term care facility. So that's why I'm saying it matters how you spend the money and it matters what you do. I'm not sure that's Doug Ford's plan, but that would be my plan. Right? That would be my plan, to properly fund public services, have that social safety net there so that people don't get caught falling between the cracks, ending up costing the system and themselves a whole bunch more money.
Let me follow up with you on uncertainty. And it's in the budget itself, and I asked Charles Sousa about this as well. Trump, NAFTA negotiations, tax reform package just brought in the United States, their growth rates are really going up much more significantly than ours, maybe twice as much as ours are right now. Premier Wynne has had many meetings with, I think, maybe more than 36 U.S. governors to try to get them to realize the importance of keeping the tariffs down and keeping that border thin. Any sense about how, A, how that's going, and B, if it isn't going well, what that means for our economy going forward?
I think that has to be a huge concern for the Premier right now. I think federally, this is one file that Trudeau and his team are managing quite well. They formed close relationships with governors, as you say, and are managing these concerns, this insecurity, but it's definitely there and it would definitely have a huge impact. And so if you're gonna be facing this uncertainty, I think that's when you need, I'm just going to say it again, those strong public services in place, because if a plant closes down and people lose their job, the thing that gets you between now and your next job is having those public services in place. And when we don't have those, that's when people are struggling. That's when they already have household debt in Ontario, in Canada.
But your solution
really
to that,
high.
Forgive me, your solution to that is raise the revenues we need to keep those public services strong. I'm not sure that would be your prescription for that.
But
is that fair to say?
Also, maybe we change the tax system, the corporate tax system, and you reward actual investments. We haven't seen an increase in productive business investment since the recession. So maybe we look at matching that accelerated capital depreciation like Stephen Harper did, and to encourage actual productive investment.
Well, what I would say is I don't think the solution to uncertainty is a 12% spike in spending and a return to deficit and accumulation of debt. But if I can just say, as I said earlier, I think today marks the unofficial start of the next election, and there'll be an onus on all parties, I think, to put forward positive ideas, positive agendas for Ontario. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that at the Public Policy School, we're launching a new initiative.
I was just going to ask you about that. Look at that. That's right there. That's my next question. Go ahead. Tell us about it.
We just launched a new initiative called Ontario 360, which is drawing on policy experts from across the spectrum on a range of issues that matter to Ontarians. And we'll begin this Sunday on a daily basis to release new policy recommendations. And at the end of the month, we'll have an inventory of evidence-based policy recommendations that we hope that the various parties draw upon, and ultimately that Ontario's next government draws upon, because we think now is the time for a smart agenda for this province.
Where can people find those policy papers and recommendations if they want to follow up?
At our website, on360.ca.
Okay, let me do one last thing here, and that is 20 seconds to each of you. This budget, clearly, the Liberals hope will be a game changer and put them back in the game. Was it?
I don't think so. I think the question everybody has been saying is, why haven't you done this for the past 5 years, let alone 15 years? You've caused these crises. It's such a dramatic shift from the last budget. What is the trust that this is going to be what you're going to do?
Sean.
I think that the fiscal 180 that I talked about earlier will be something that Ontarians will have a hard time having trust and credibility in.
So neither one of you thinks this is the Hail Mary pass that actually is going to be completed in the end zone for the touchdown? I'm not hearing that anyway.
I think it was a lot of money. I don't think it was creative.
Are you giving me the hook? You are. Okay, that's all the time we got tonight. Angela McEwen, Senior Economist, Canadian Labour Congress. Sean Speer, rather. Sean Spicer is definitely somebody else. You know, I said to myself all day long, don't call him that. But yeah, and I did anyway. There we go. Sean Speer, Senior Fellow, U of T School of Public Policy and Governance. And we invite people to go to the website and check out those policy prescriptions that you've got coming down. Thank you both for appearing on the agenda tonight.
The Agenda with Steve Paikin is brought to you by the Chartered Professional Accountants of Ontario, helping businesses stay on the right side of change with strategic thinking, insightful decisions, and business leadership. Are you on the right side of change? Ask an Ontario CPA.